Hi guys and girls, I've got a video here for you finding the maximum or minimum points of a parabola and how to find its line of symmetry. Now when you've got the diagram in front of you, it's obviously very easy. The minimum on this point is down here, so the coordinate of that minimum is -1, -5. And the line of symmetry would be the line that goes through that point. Now it's a vertical line, so it has the equation x equals, and it goes through -1 on the x-axis, so that's the equation of symmetry, or line of symmetry. Right. Same when it's upside down, so you've got a negative parabola here. Again, it's a maximum point, but you can see it really easily. It's this point up here. So the coordinate of that is 2, 1, and the line of symmetry, again, it's vertical, it's always going to be vertical on a parabola, is x equals 2. So when it's -1 there, it's -1 there. When it's 2 there, it's 2 there. It's not a terribly difficult concept to wrap heads around, I hope. But what if you don't have the diagram? You could try drawing it, but anything you draw is going to be a sketch. It's not going to be accurate. So we have to use, as you can see, I've got a few examples here. We have to use completed square form in order to find the maximum. Well, it's not the only way, but it's the easiest way. Okay. What you could do is you could find these 2 points here, find the middle of it, which will give you the x coordinate, and then sub it into the equation to find the y coordinate. You could do that, but frankly, if your x coordinates are nice whole numbers, it's going to turn into a real pain in the backside. So trust me, this is the way it's expected to be done in exams. So it's the only way I'm going to teach you. Right, so completed square form. If you haven't come across that yet and done your tasks on that, do that first. So we have, it's going to look like this. Ooh, that should be a minus. Actually, it can be a plus. It doesn't really matter. It's something in a bracket. The bracket is squared and something on the outside. You can even have another letter here. It doesn't matter. That's the general form of it. So the cheats way is you take this here, you take the number in front of it, and you half it. So we have a +2 there. If you were to expand out this bracket, you would get x squared, you would get 4x, but you would get a +4. Now we don't want a +4, we want a -6. So what you do is you take off the 4 that you don't want, and you add in the -6 that you do want. And then simplify. So we have x +2 squared -10. Okay, that is your completed square form, but how do you get the minimum points out of it? Or maximum points? Or is this one going to be a minimum or a maximum, do you think? It's going to be a minimum because it's a positive x squared graph, so it's not an upside down parabola. So your minimum is at, and then we need the coordinate, and we want the symmetry, line of symmetry. Well, if you think about this, x +2 squared is always going to be a positive number. So the smallest that bracket can ever be is 0. If that bracket is 0, then the answer has to be 10. -10. Because it's only going to get bigger from there. So our y coordinate is -10. And the x coordinate is whatever is needed to make that bracket 0 in the first place. So it's a -2. It's simply picking out pieces of information. That is always going to be your y coordinate, and the opposite symbol there is always going to be your x-coordinate. It's as easy as that. You haven't got to faff around with solving it and then halving it and then subbing it back into another equation, and oh no. The line of symmetry, as I said before, if your x-coordinate is 2, your symmetry line is 2. This one is a symmetry line of -2 because this is -2. It's as easy as that. So as long as you can complete the square, that's the hard bit, frankly. So let's go on and complete the square. We take this number here and we half it, so we get 3/2. I would advise not using decimals, because frankly it's a lot easier to square a fraction than it is to square a decimal. So if I squared that fraction, I would get 9/4, because you square the top and square the bottom. That is not what I want, so I take it away. I put in what I do want, which is a +5, and simplify. So x minus 3/2, and then I'm going to change this into 20/4, because I'm doing this all without a calculator, because there is absolutely no reason why this cannot come up on a non-calculator paper. So don't rely on your calculator all the time for simple calculations, because you'll lose those inherent skills. Anywho, we get 11/4, so plus 11/4. So is it minimum or maximum? It's a positive x squared, so it's a minimum again, is at, well, the x coordinate is the opposite symbol here, so that's positive 3/2. And the y coordinate is the thing on the outside. And my symmetry line, it's a parabola, so it's always x equals, and it's whatever that coordinate is. Done. A recap here of completing the square if it's not just a x squared. Well, the first thing you do is take that 3, divide through by it, just kind of keep it to one side for now. So I would have x squared minus 5x minus 8. Complete the square with that, so you're going to have x minus 5/2 squared. If you square that, you get 25/4, because you get to square the top, square the bottom. That is not what you want. You put in what you do want, which is a -8, and simplify. So we get x minus 5/2 all squared. I'm going to change this into 32/4. So that is 57, -57/4. But don't forget, we've got this 3 going on. We kept it aside. Now we've got, that multiplies through the equation, so you actually get 3 x minus 5/2 squared minus 3 lots of this. So 3 57s is 171. Oh, I even wrote 20 as well. 171/4. That is your completed square form. If you didn't put that 3 back, that's not your full completed square form. Is this one minimum or maximum? Well, it's another positive. It might be a times by 3, but it's still positive, so it's a minimum. And it is where the opposite symbol to that, so it is 5/2, and the y coordinate is whatever outside the bracket. And so if you didn't multiply through by 3, you would still get the 5/2, but you would get negative 57/4, not negative 171/4. So that's where you would have been wrong. Last one. Now this one has a negative in front of our x squared, so we already know that we're going to be looking at a maximum, not a minimum. And you can kind of treat it the same way. So if you take the negative out, leave it to one side for a moment. So that would become an x squared. This would be, if you take out a negative there you're going to get a negative 4x and a negative 1 on the end. Complete the square, so x minus 2. If I squared that, I would get 4. I don't want that, so I take it away, but I put in what I want. That would leave me with x minus 2 squared minus 5. However, we've got this minus that's got to run through it. So we have minus x minus 2 squared, and a minus minus makes a plus 5. So my maximum is the opposite symbol there, so that is 2, and the y coordinate is 5, and my symmetry is x equals 2. Right, so just watch out for those negatives and numbers in front of x squareds and all that kind of thing. It doesn't really change the process, you just got to remember to put it back at the end. Anyway, hope that helped. Bye!